Cruz.
Buenos días, muchas gracias. Thank you, Hugo. And thanks to Seatrade for allowing Uncruise Adventures to be here on the Diaz with such outstanding expedition cruising companies on the panel today. And thanks to everybody for last night, Mina Del Mar, Valparaiso, and Seatrade Latin America. Fabulous evening, and no thanks to that blue ticketed horse that barely got across the finish line, as Chris said. So someone was lost out last night. And before I launch into the presentation, I do want to say to our translator that there are probably going to be some words and phrases that are a little difficult to translate, so be on guard. And one of those first ones is the name of our company, Uncruise Adventures. And I guess translated, that would be in Spanish, No Cruceros, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So in the future, I think we'll just say Uncruise Adventures and not try to translate it no matter what language. But the reason we chose Uncruise Adventures, and we just renamed our company in January of this year after 15 years of operating small ships. And Uncruise Adventures really is meant to go ahead and be a guiding light of the type of expedition cruising that we do and that other expedition cruising companies do. And that is really small group travel and getting very close to the wildlife and the scenery and a hands-on experience. So that hands-on experience with us is kayaking, hiking, paddleboarding, swimming, all kinds of great activities with all of the different vessels that we have. And as you can see at the bottom there, we believe that true adventure comes in small packages, and those are actually the sizes of our vessels. Those aren't staterooms, those are numbers of berths. And just to take a look, under Uncruise Adventures, what we've done is we've divided it into three different styles of adventure. So first of all, we have our luxury adventures, and these vessels actually are yachts. And different than most yachts in the world, actually they're larger, and they do, as Hugo said, have step-out balconies. They also have ensuite jacuzzi tubs and some of the upper category staterooms. So very high-end, very nice, but also active. So we have all the activities that I mentioned a little earlier on these boats. We have two of them, and again, they have 22, 36, 64, or 86 guests, operating mostly in Alaska's Inside Passage, and that is our, quote, bread and butter. So we have 7 of our 8 vessels that we have operating in Alaska's Inside Passage during May to September. And also with our luxury adventures, we have one of the boats, 36 guests, that operates in Hawaii from basically November to May, and the only small ship that operates in Hawaii. And we'll be coming up on our 3rd season here. And also we do cruises in the northwest of the United States, out of Seattle, a couple different itineraries, the Columbia Snake River out of Portland, Oregon, Mexico, Sea Cortez, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a minute. Now our second style of adventure are active adventures. So these are true expedition vessels, and they have 60 or 76 guests. We have 3 of them. This is Alaska only. So at lower price point, even more adventurous. We even have all-day kayaking and hiking trips for those that really want those types of activities. But one of the beauties of expedition cruising in general is that people can do as much or as little as they want. And there's no pressure at all to be extra active, but these are lower priced and, again, expedition vessels in Alaska. Finally, we have one more style of adventure that we're introducing this year. This is heritage adventures. As you can see, the boat itself is nostalgic. It looks like it stepped right out of the 1898 gold rush, and so it has that feel. And we take it many steps further. So on board, it's really living history programs, reenactments of history with our crew, and this will operate on the Columbia Snake Rivers out of Portland, Oregon, and in Alaska during the summertime. So that's our fleet. I just want to give you a reference point of what Uncruise Adventures is all about. And expedition cruising in general, again, this is a great image of what we mean. It's one-on-one with the wilderness, being out there. Here's a solo paddleboarder, and unrushed, uncrowded, unbelievable, or no rushed, no crowded, no believable. That's my translation. And also, we're doing this, of course, in the other destinations, Sea Cortez, Hawaii, and everywhere we operate. And also our commitment to Latin America certainly has grown in the last couple of years. We feel with our 7 vessels operating in Alaska's Inside Passage, we pretty much have gotten to a saturation point in Alaska. So that's one of the reasons that we're committed to moving into Latin America more with our vessels and also with inbound and outbound traffic both. And part of that commitment is we just hired a business development director, Blanca Stello now, who's on the screen. She lives in Fort Lauderdale. from Colombia originally, speaks fluent Spanish and Portuguese, so she'll be traveling extensively in Latin America to go ahead and build that business. So there's her contact information. One little sidebar here on expedition cruising as we get in more to the heart of the matter. Expedition cruising, one of the biggest challenges is, again, getting the awareness out there so that people really know what expedition cruising is all about. And one of the first steps to conquering that is getting rid of some of the misperceptions. One of those is actually that it's all icebound. Not true, again. There are great trips in the Antarctic, and also, of course, a little less ice where a lot of us operate where glaciers are. But there is a variety of expedition cruising experiences out there. Another misperception is that, again, that it's rustic. Well, not all of the boats by any means are rustic. And as Hugo mentioned, certainly the hardware out there, some of it is a little bit older, but with our company, when we acquire boats, we refurbish them and they're actually better than they ever were brand new. And so they are really nice on board, as I pointed out some of those features, some of the comforts a minute ago. And also, there's a misperception that you can't be selling to an older clientele. But today, 60, 70, 80-year-olds are really active. We see it all the time, and kayaking and hiking. So we need to get away from that perception that we don't want to sell expedition cruising as much to the older clientele. We see that every day on all of our ships. And as it says on the slide here, small group travel digs deeper, finds more, and achieves greater vehicle satisfaction. And the last line here in the second bullet, luxury of experience, I think that is really descriptive of what expedition cruising is all about. So it really defines expedition cruising. One of the ways that we can find expedition cruisers is by looking at what other types of travel or interests that they have, and that's one of our purposes today. I won't go through all of these that are on the screen, but some of them, for example, those who like biking or rafting or other adventure-oriented travel. If they like it off of an expedition ship, they'll definitely love it when they're doing an expedition ship. Wine and culinary, for those that have that interest, definitely they oftentimes are wanting this type of experience. Bird watching, photography, marine biology, astronomy, and other themed departures. We do that a lot on the expedition ships to bring all of those interests to the fore. Safaris and eco tours, again, are other things to look for when trying to find expedition cruisers. And again, who are the expedition cruisers? Again, not going through all of them, but multi-generational families, of course, is important everywhere. But in Latin America, multi-generational families certainly are extremely important and have grown over the last few years, more in the middle class. So what a fabulous trip to go ahead and be able to go on a charter with your family, where it's the boat all for themselves, really fabulous, life-changing experiences. And that's what a lot of the baby boomer type of families, or those that have the wealth to go ahead and buy a charter, they want really meaningful experiences for their family, education for their kids, not so much just the material things that they can buy with their wealth. Also, of course, those that are into the educational aspect, and even things like yoga. For example, we provide yoga classes complimentary on all of our vessels. And there's another little market that we wouldn't all be able to exist on just this alone, but there are entertainers, notables, those that are out there that we would recognize. And you may not recognize this person before I say, but in this kayak in Alaska is Kate Winslet, the actress, and her brother. And Kate Winslet and her buddy, a fellow actress, Emma Thompson, chartered one of our yachts twice within 7 months, first in Alaska and then in the Sea of Cortez. And I mention that because, again, the discriminating clientele like that are really more and more getting into this type of quality experience. And testimonial after the cruise, then one of the things that Kate Winslet had to say was, this is the type of holiday that leaves a footprint on your soul. And I also thought it was kind of sweet that she filled out a guest survey, and one of the things she noted on her guest survey in the bar or alcohol area was, I've never been a happier drunk. So I'm not sure that that's exactly one of the things we'll promote for expedition cruising, but it was a nice remark that she made. Now, the travel agents are really not in the room today. They're in another room that are here on the Hosted Travel Agent Day. But this is another important thing, I think, in assessing who expedition travelers are, how to find them, how to make sure they're getting the right type of expedition cruising experience. Again, with us, luxury adventure, active adventure, or heritage adventure. And travel agents need to spend that extra time probing, asking questions, really telling the story, because it is a unique story. And again, travel agents, one of the best ways they can do that is get on the boats, and all of us have industry rates to allow them to do that. And of course, it's always that, again, challenge, as I mentioned before, of trying to get expedition cruising up there in the top of the mind awareness. And really the essence of expedition cruising is uninterrupted, unscripted wilderness exploration. And about 17% of annual growth is in place right now for expedition cruising or adventure travel in general, as opposed to 4% in traditional travel. So it's really one of those growing market niches. And again, maximizing the exhilaration of unexpected wildlife and subtly changing landscapes, another definition of what we can do with expedition cruising. And you'll see on just flipping through these slides that this is the land side of expedition cruising. Very important because, again, all of us are going to do great hikes and get from the shore and experience the wilderness. A lot of these areas are protected, permitted, so it is only the small groups can do these types of experiences. And on the boats themselves, whether it's the mother ship or the kayaks or the skiffs, getting close to the marine life. So that's expedition ships, we can cut the engines just like that, and here whales are coming right up to the bow. And other marine life, and closer, blue whale in Mexico, Sea of Cortez, and even closer, this is a whale shark just taken a couple of months ago on a Hawaii trip. So these are all actual images from just the last few months, so very relevant. And again, a great example of what you can do with expedition cruising overall with the small groups. Now, real quickly, again, we're operating Mexico, Sea of Cortez. We just acquired an 8th vessel in January, the Safari Voyager, 64 guests, and this actually is our first non-U.S. flag vessel. So a Colombian flag, you'll have a Colombian, Ecuadorian, Mexican, and U.S. International crew. And it's going to start operating this December in Sea of Cortez year-round, which hasn't been done too much. And a unique itinerary that's going to be Buenos round trip, Buenos on the mainland of Mexico. Again, no one has done that before, so it's going to areas no one has gone into. Fabulous. And again, this is catering more to those who live in Mexico and Latin America, the easier air, less expensive air going in and out of Buenos. So we really are trying to promote something for Latin America right there in the nearby Sea of Cortez. And so these are all just examples of some of the experiences we're able to do there and getting very close. And really, in closing, expedition cruising is adventure wrapped in comfort. So here we have one of the guests joining the Polar Bear Club in Alaska. And what this person is going to do is get right out of the water very quickly and go up to the hot tub and be given a hot drink by our crew member. But a lot of the expedition vessels, again, do have true comfort in the accommodations. We include massages on our luxury adventure boats. So it's great to be out there enjoying the wilderness, all the physical activity, but then come back on the boat and be able to have all of this luxury on board, sitting in the hot tubs, the suites. And again, our 64 guest Safari Voyager coming online here just in a few months. And so as we move further into Latin America with our physical presence, so that's our coming attraction. And really in closing, expedition cruising is small groups, but it's really monumental experiences. So muchas gracias, and thank you very much for your time and attention.
Tim, that was really interesting. I think your presentation is unmatched so far.